Good evening and welcome to my evening Facebook Live. Welcome if you're joining me live and in the flesh, and if you're watching on catch up, then thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate you taking the time out to spend with me, especially when it's, you know, good time to have with your families and the like, especially of an evening. So I really appreciate that. So I'm continuing with our prized peony. Just get that up on screen but without any sounds. So hi Katie, hi Tracy, hi Molly, Jeanette. Thank you so much for joining me. So I'm continuing with this set here, and so far we've used this stamp and this stamp. We've used the matching papers, but we haven't used the dies that make the peony. So there are dies that cut out these flowers and these leaves. There's another die that cuts this entire flower out as well. Haven't even got round to using that one yet, but there are a set of dies that make up this 3D flower. Now I've had a play this afternoon, hope you can see those okay. Hi Carol. Oh Molly, that's fine, don't worry at all. It was only if anybody was around. Hi Jeanette, hi Marianne. So I've had a play with some of the dies this afternoon and also some of the embossing folders, because this is quite a realistic peony, but it does involve a fair bit of sponging, either with a dauber or a sponge, to get this effect. So I had a try. I tried using the Subtle's embossing folder, which might have worked if I put all the leaves in the right direction. So I don't know if you can see that. The direction goes all over the place. So if I'd had them all facing upwards or at an angle, that might well have worked on there. And then this one I felt was the most successful in terms of giving it some interest. And what I did was I looked on Google, good old Google, under Stamping Up Prized Peony, and there was a lady on there, and I'll get her name in a second, who recommended scrunching the paper up. Now I did think that if I used our Old World paper embossing folder, which makes it look like crumpled paper, that would be perfect. However, try as I might, I couldn't find my embossing folder. I know I do have it here somewhere, but I couldn't find it. So I'm going to do the next best thing, and that is scrunch the paper up to get that effect. So let me show you how we create these. There are 4 dies, which I know look really strange, that make up the peony. Okay, and they start large, that's the next one, and then they get smaller and smaller. So the easiest thing for me to do is just cut out a set and show you how they go together, and then I'll make a proper flower up ready. There are some leaf dies as well. There's 6 leaf dies. This does the 3 larger leaves, and then there's some accent leaves that you can add on top, which are usually in a darker colour, but they're smaller. And I've used them here again, and I've scrunched up the paper. But I just want to show you to start with how it goes together, because it's so much easier than it looks. I've been putting off using it, I have to say, because I was a bit frightened of it. Hi Ellen. Hi Verity. Thank you so much for joining me. Let me grab a spare piece of card. Okay, so I've got a piece here and I'm just going to pop the pieces on here. And the nice thing is you can get a flower out of a quarter of an A4. So this is A5, half an A4. So each sheet of A4 would get you 3 flowers in total. 4 flowers in total. Not going to bother with the leaves. I just want to show you how the petals go together because it's so much easier once you've seen it. Just going to bring in my new die cutting and embossing machine and just lift that up. Now I know this is going to be rather in your way, but let me just bring it back out. If I put it up here, hopefully you'll see me put it all together. So I hope everybody's well. It's been an absolutely glorious day here today, so we're very lucky indeed. So all I'm going to do is put my piece of card on here and just pop my dies on like so. So it doesn't matter what way they go round, just literally putting them straight onto the card. Popping my top sandwich layer plate on and running it through. No, I'm not. I'm missing a layer, that's fine. Best laid plans. Okay, I thought it was too loose. I've missed a die plate, number 2 die plate. It's because I was playing around with the embossing folders. I'm sorry, that's a little bit in shadow. Okay, so take 2, that's better. So I'm just going to wind those through like that. I'm going to take this out of the way. Otherwise you can't see very much of what's going on. And here we have our 4 dies. Okay, see how easy they come out. Okay, so you can line them up largest to smallest, and what you may notice is that there's this little space here, and all of these line up together. If I just line one up onto the next, onto there, and then that lines up on to there. Okay, now I know that looks a bit weird because I'm going to tuck it in, but that's basically all you need to do when you come to put it together, is be able to line those up. Okay, so the way that it works, and I find it easier to start from the small one, is you take the smallest one, you tuck it like a little pocket into here, slide it down, and then match the bottom up like so. Then you do the same with the next one, slide it in like a pocket, line it up, and then the last one, it only tucks in a small way, as you can see. So just tuck it in there, like so. Now when we do it with our real flower that we're going to do, I'm going to glue it as we go along, but then we'll have that layer there. So it ends up with them all being level, and then you've got this layered petaled flower. Okay, now there is a little stamen that goes in the center of there, which you can just about see in here, but it's a little bit more obvious on this one because I changed the color of it. Now there's lots of things you can do with this. As I said, you can sponge all of the edges, you can fold these edges out as well if you want to, sort of give it a little bit more interest and dimension, because if you look at dahlias, some of them have like frilly edges, so you could be folding these pieces back. Okay, so let me just take those out again to show you. So much easier than I thought. When I looked at the dies, I thought, oh my goodness, that doesn't make any sense, does it? So you take the smallest one, tuck it in the pocket. The smallest one is the tightest one, like so. Line it up at the bottom, tuck it into the next pocket. I know these aren't straight, like so, and then tuck that one into the last little pocket, like so. Okay, so let's do one with our melon mambo. So I've got some melon mambo card here, and what I'm going to do is spritz it lightly. Now I'm using Stampin Mist because I can never find my water spritzer, and I like the smell of Stampin Mist. This is the one that we use for cleaning our stamps. Okay, and then this is the bit Carol won't like. There's a tractor going past, sorry. But basically what you're going to do is scrunch your piece of paper up. Now I've obviously got an A5 piece here, so this is twice the size that I really need. And by wetting it, that allows it to crease up a bit easier because the fibres are softened. So you can be it's quite good for getting rid of tension. Like so. You can just keep going until you've got it scrunched up. And then gently, I emphasise the gently, unscrunch it, like so. Okay, now the old world paper effectively will do that for you if you have the embossing folder. Of course, if I could find the embossing folder, I would show you. Hi Vivian, thanks for joining us. So I've scrunched it up, and now all I'm going to do is take my plate for my die cutting machine. So obviously with these dies you do need a die cutting machine, and I'm just going to position these. Obviously it's not going to look particularly pretty at this point, and there's also a little die for the middle stamen, which is this funky little one here. So I'm going to pop that on there. So I know it looks all scrunched up, but it will still work, I promise. So I'm going to put this between my two plates, like so. I'll just bring my machine up because I've got more space up here than I have anywhere else. So pop the plates on, pop the dies in, so just make sure they don't fly around, because obviously with the scrunched up paper they're not particularly well positioned. If that works, if that makes any sense. And I'm just going to wind that through. There we go. So I'll move this out of the way. So now I've got my petals with some really lovely texture. I'll pop this one out. There we go. So bear in mind this is still slightly damp. Okay, and obviously it will flatten some of it, so if you're doing another lot I'd scrunch it up again and put it back through. So here are our petals. This is the little stamen in the middle, so I'm just going to pop that out. And this is a really useful stamen for all of our flowers, because it's slightly damp. There we go. Okay, so those are my petals. So look at the difference between one of these, for example, and that one. You've just got so much more interest, haven't you? I would definitely recommend scrunching before die cutting, because if you die cut and then scrunch them up, what you might find is that you tear. There's only a little border here and you might tear into that, so I would definitely recommend doing it that way round, although normally I would say do it the other way round. If you're using the embossing folder, then that would be fine. Now the lady who came up with this idea of scrunching the paper, her blog is Scrapping, Stamping and Stuff. She's on YouTube. I'm desperately trying to remember her name. I think it's Dina or Gina, I can't remember. I'll look it up and post it on here after. But it was her suggestion to do the scrumpled paper technique. So that is Scrapping, Stamping and Stuff on YouTube. Okay, so let's make this flower and then I'll pop the leaves in and do the same with the leaves. So I'm going to take, I tend to leave that till the end. I'm going to take the smallest one. Now obviously it's a little bit more tricky because this is still slightly damp, but just tuck it in there. And then you can either use glue dots or a little dab of glue to line these up. So I'm just pulling that through, and I'm just going to use a little dab of glue at the bottom. Bear in mind that it is slightly damp, so I mean you could also leave this to dry, because the glue will take an extra time to dry because of the paper being damp. But to be honest, it holds itself really well. So that's my first layer. Okay, and then we're going to tuck it into this one, like so. And there's nothing to stop you sponging the edge of these leaves as well. Okay, I don't feel you need to in the same way. So I'm just lining that up, lifting it up, hope you can see that okay, and just adding a little bit of glue, like so. And then this is the last layer, just going to tuck into there like that, and again a tiny bit of glue. Bear in mind there's only a small frame on the front, so I'm just going to do a little bit on either side. You can see that okay, and then bring that whole piece down. By starting at the smallest piece, you basically end up with one piece that ends up on there, if that makes any sense. So that gives you a really nice interesting shaped peony. So as I say, there's nothing wrong with doing something with these edges, adding a little bit of extra sponging around. Let's do the leaves. Oh, let's pop this one in. So for this one, I'm just going to put a bit of glue on the bottom. I'm going to put it both ends, front and back, and then it's up to you how far you tuck that in. So where it goes is where this little dip is, if you can see that. Just tucks in there, as high or as low as you want it. Okay, just adds that little bit extra texture, because if you look at peonies, they have quite a close centre and then they open out. Okay, what do we think so far? I'm going to use some jade for my leaves. I'm just going to pop these through the die cutting machine. Just going to put the standard 3 leaves on. I'm just going to do this off camera. I could have had them pre-prepared really, couldn't I? Just those through. So here I've got 1, 2, 3. And my other die. 1, 2, 3. And as I say, there is another die that will do more detail behind there. And what I'm going to do with these is I'm going to scrunch these up now, because there's no fine edges or anything. So I'm just going to add a little bit of Stampin Mist, but normally, I mean, you could use water, you could use alcohol with a bit of shimmer paint in, so that everything was all shimmery, glittery. So this is garden green, but I've decided, I think for my card I'm actually going to use jade. There we go. And if you want to get these really wet, you can split the leaves, because the layers of the card will come apart slightly, and you can make additional, you can make 2 leaves out of every single one if you wish. Okay, I like the fact that they're a different shape leaf, so they're not like a standard leaf, they're slightly pointed, which is what peonies are like. So these can go together or separately. So I think I might do that one on its own, and then these 2. Oh, that's how I did that. How funny. Like so. I'm actually going to leave those off for a minute while I put the cards together. Okay. So for my card that this is going to go on, I've got Melon Mambo as my base, which I've already scored. So just going to fold that in half. And then I've chosen some of the in colour designer paper. So this is the jade, hence that requiring the jade leaves, and I've cut that 1/2 centimetre smaller than the base card. It's got that lovely pretty backing. So sorry, no, this isn't the in colour paper. I should have used that, but this is from the Flowers for Every Season. Sorry, it's because I like the dots on it. Okay, so I'm just positioning that in the centre like so, and then what I wanted to do was mimic these dots. So I've got a piece of Whisper White that I put through the embossing folder, which I have here to show you. So this is the pack of 2 embossing folders that I've used in this month's class in a box. They're called Wrapped in Texture embossing folders, so they are from the Christmas catalogue, and you have like a small, almost like a houndstooth design, and then you have these lovely dots. This is stunning in metallic paper, but I wanted to sort of match up the dots from the backing paper, so I'm going to pop that on top so that my flower really stands out. Now in this die set you also get a really pretty edging die, so I'm going to have to do another live to show you not only the edging die but the other stamp here with the matching dies. So it's great. I love having that problem. So this is going to go onto here, and then my flower is going to sit there. But what I thought I would do is add a little ribbon. So I have 2 jade ribbons. I've got this plain cotton one, and then I've also got this check one. Now I always like a gingham check, I have to say, but I wonder if the plain one would be better, as I've got quite a lot going on this card. What do you think? Let me know whether you think the plain one or the gingham one would look better. While you do that, I'm just going to attach the leaves to the back of here. So plain or gingham, they're both jade. So there's one. Plain, says Jeanette. Oh, everybody's gone for plain. Excellent. That was sort of my first choice, but I always do like a gingham, I have to say. Right, let's pop these leaves together. So say with the leaves, you can scrunch them after, or you can put them through an embossing folder. I wish I could find my old world one. When I do, I'll do another peony, and then you can see what it looks like in comparison to the hand scrunched one. See which one you prefer. Right, so plain we're going for. I haven't used this gingham yet. That's given me an excuse to use it, hasn't it? So what I'm thinking then is to have this round here with a bow, with this on top. And put my sentiment underneath. And what have I got? So I do have this, which I think is a bit big. Yeah, it's definitely a bit big. Right colour, just happened to be in my little box of die cuts. So I could just put that on with a bit of jade around the outside. For example here. Or I could do a thinner strip maybe. So let's wrap the ribbon. Let's do that. Find my scissors. Okay. So let me just work out my orientation. So I can either have that down there with a bow and my sentiment tucked in here or across here, or have that up there and my sentiment below. Or I could and now I need a longer bit of ribbon. Do that, which might suit it better, mightn't it? If I did that underneath, so that sits on top. That's it, and then it's connected to something, isn't it? Okay, that's my plan. There we go. And then it's not squashed up quite so much. So just on the back of that, I'm going to put my seal. Going to wrap this round. Like so. Too many choices today. To have that. That needs to go higher. So let me just stick this down. I'm so glad the light's better this evening after yesterday when it seemed to rain all day. I'm glad that although I have got my overhead light on, it's not needed too much. Put ribbon behind greeting. Oh yeah, that's true. So Molly says sentiment below. Let's go for that. It's down now. Yep, that works, doesn't it? And I could put a bit of ribbon here or here. Let's just see. do it without this bow really, but yeah, it gets lost, doesn't it? When you scoot this over here, and then I'll decide whether I want that bow in there or not. Okay, I'm going to pop this up on dimensionals. Like so. I love it when you ladies give me ideas. Love it. Carry on, please do. Card designed by committee, isn't it? So perhaps I should have left those leaves. I want to attach that to something. Let me trim this ribbon down and decide if I'm going to keep it or not. Cut my finger. There we go. So I could pop that on there. Sorry. That's my mum calling me back. She rang earlier. She rang earlier and I said, I'm just about to go live. I'll call you back later. So, what do we reckon with this? I've got sentiment below. Obviously that's a bit tight now, I've put it there. So I'm thinking potentially there would go. Stamping in jade. And I want something quite small. So if that love and thanks would fit in there. Oh, it's not going to fit on that one. Oh, perhaps it will. Let's have a look, see. Yeah, might just do it, mightn't it? So looking at this, that looks straight. Straight to the block anyway. So I'm just using the lines on here. It's temporary grid paper. Are you holding your breath, everyone? There we go. Right. So I'm thinking I'm just going to cut that straight, like so, and keep it like that. Keep it, it's because there's a lot going on here, so I don't want any extra layers or anything, so I'm thinking just there, so it meets the edge like that. Okay. Couple of dimensionals on there and we're done. So when I find my old world paper embossing folder, I'm going to make a peony with that. So cutting it out first and then embossing and seeing if I get a better effect. Like so. There we go. So I've got another one here that I can do the same with. This has got garden green leaves on. But there we go. What do you think? Do you like? And I was looking up peonies to see what the most popular colours are, and there's a lot of very pale peonies, so very pale pink, where the sort of insides are slightly deeper. So I'll have to have a play with that. But as I say, you could have fun with this and sort of fold these edges out to give it a bit more interest. You could also bend them to get a 3D effect with your bone folder, like we do normally with leaves and things like that. So lots of things that you can do with it. So there we go. I've taken up enough of your time. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope you like them. I'm glad I've overcome my fear of using them. It's funny how that happens sometimes, but it happens to us all, even demonstrators. So I'm glad I've had a go with that. I feel I could do those, not quite in my sleep, but I could make plenty of those now without thinking about it. So because the prized peony is my stamp set of the week, if you order the stamp set, you'll get 6 of the matching papers cut to A6 ready to go onto a card. If you order the stamp set and the dies, then you'll get the papers and cards and envelopes. And the papers you'll have seen in our earlier videos this week. I don't know where I've left my remaining ones. There weren't many left. Oh, here they are. This is all I have left, so I have to order some more. So these are the papers. This one would look nice with a peony on the top. So lots of different things. As I say, those are only the scraps left, so I'm going to order some more in my next order. So thank you for joining me. If you do order any of those automatically, either through me by email or on my website, then you will get the papers and everything sent to you directly from me. Okay, thank you so much for joining me this evening. I'm glad you were able to. I'm not standing here talking to myself. That's always nice. Thank you for your advice and suggestions. That's always welcome. So take care, have a good evening, look after yourselves, look after your loved ones. If you're catching this on replay, thank you so much. Please pop any comments on and I'll try and respond to those. And similarly, if you're watching this on my YouTube upload, feel free to comment or message on there and I can get back to you. Thank you so much indeed. Bye bye, good night.